Well, hello! Today we're going to be looking at a product from ImmersionRC, but just before we get into it, a quick reminder to please like or dislike this video if you didn't like it, comment down below, don't forget to subscribe and click on the little bell icon which will tell you when I'm uploading stuff. So what have we got today? It is the ImmersionRC Diversity module. Now there are a lot of claims on this one and a lot of very positive stuff about it. I first heard about this one when I did the RapidFIRE review, and several people said that ImmersionRC is the thing to go. ImmersionRC, like they were just chanting it nearly. And there is a big difference between things like this and the RapidFIRE and the TrueD X, and that's the price. Whereas the RapidFIRE is about $150, the TrueD X about $120. This is currently coming in this morning at $89, so about $90. So cheaper again. So how will it do? This is what we're aiming to see. First off, let's see what we actually get in the box. On opening the box, first thing you get is the instruction manual. Nicely packaged under this gubbins here is the cover. Now I know these covers were brand new because I waited a little while to get one. Feels very solid. Under more layers of protection, we have the little module itself. 3 buttons at the bottom there, a smaller OLED display, so perhaps where it's cheaper, and of course 2 spaces to put antennas. This has a large list of compatibility with FatShark goggles, so I'm guessing it doesn't need any extra power. It should just go in without having to do any mods or any wires coming from head tracker bays and stuff. Now what it described itself as, I'll read you one of the little quotes that Banggood carries on their site. It says, already the ImmersionRC module is being shown to outshine the likes of the commonly found LaForge and TrueD competitors and is pushing near rapid-fire performance at a much lower cost, which is a bold claim. Now, the reason it says it can do this is because how quickly it can switch. It says it can switch so quickly, and I think it's suggesting it can switch mid-frame between antennas, and this will allow it to come up with a much better picture than its competitors. That's how I understand it anyway. The proof is actually in the flying of it, so I'm going to go ahead and install it in my goggles, and then we'll just have a quick run through to see what the features are before we can go out and fly some stuff and see how it looks. Right, so just before we go through the features of it, I just wanted to show how it looked when you've got everything attached. You see the screen is a little bit smaller than the other ones I've looked at, not necessarily a bad thing. Nice and easy to read, very bright. This mounting, or the cover, is very, very solid. It was actually quite hard to get in. I'm not looking forward to taking it out again. But yeah, not just a cheap 3D printed plasticky thing. This is, it looks like it's injection molding. It looks very tough. Quite significant. Anyway, it's not going to fall out. It's going to stay in there nice and tightly. And again, here's my normal setup. It's reasonably important in these goggles that you have a patch at the bottom and something else on the top. That's just because the way the find mode works is it shuts off the top antenna and goes to the bottom. So to use that, make sure you've got a directional antenna. It actually says this is its recommended setup: patch and circular polarized antenna at the top there. So let me take this off and we'll go through what we can do with the buttons and what it does. Okay, so when you turn on, you get the nice logo screen. You can't customize the logo here. And then you're straight into wherever you left, interestingly. So if you're in the middle of a menu or find mode or whatever, you go back exactly to that point, is what I noticed. And once again, you can have it so what is in here mirrors what's in the goggle view there. So I'm just going to turn on the DVR for that. Seems like the most obvious place to start is where you'd normally be, which is just your normal channel mode. We're here on F1 and we've got the 3 buttons. Imagine the outside is up and down and the middle is like select or menu or something. So if I start pressing these buttons here, I'll go up the menus, and it's similarly reflected if you press up and down on the buttons. You go up and down as well. Now you get a little bit more detail in the screen itself when you go up and down. You'll see a little display showing the RSSI levels of each channel, which is quite useful. Now you've got 2 other things here. So if you hold down one of the buttons for longer, you go up and down the bands. So I go back down again to F. And of course, once you're in those bands, then I've gone to race there, you can go up and down as per normal. And if you've decided, oh, I really like this channel, that's going to become one of my favourites, if you do a short press of a button, it adds a little heart symbol there. so that becomes in one of your favourite lists. I'm just going to add a couple more to favourites so we've got something to look at. We'll also see we've got the two antenna RSSI lines here, which if I plug something in will show something. Now I think what I've turned on is on F1. Yeah, and it's worked out. It's got an NTSC camera, and at the moment we're getting B. I wonder if I can make it worse or better. Nope. Obviously we've got nothing attached to it at the moment, which makes a little bit of a difference. So let's have a look at the main menu. If we hold this button down, this is what we're on at the moment. This is normal channel. We've actually got something called frequency here. If we go into frequency, basically we can go through frequencies in is that 1 megahertz? Yeah. So individual megahertz, and then it will tell us when we're on something. So if you think you're slightly out and you can get a stronger signal by going to a specific channel, then you can do it that way, or specific frequency I should say. Next one along is our favourites. If we just say yeah, we're being favourites, then when we go up and down the channels, you'll see us just go through our favourites. Pretty useful if you've got a bunch of favourites to set up. I normally stick to sort of 3 or 4 channels that I will use depending where I am and depending who I'm flying with, really. Next we've got the band scan. So let's have a scan of F. I'll plug back in again. So here we are on band scan, and you can see we seem to be picking up stuff on F1 and 2. It'd be kind of nice if it stayed there, wouldn't it? But this is similar to what you'd see in the normal goggles. Basically you get a list of RSSI values, but the difference in this one is if you press the button you can quickly go onto other bands. So that's race band, high band, I mean, again, I'd like the things to stay there, but you can at least see where there's space. Some more numbers and stuff in there wouldn't be a bad thing. So that's band scan. Then we've got Finder. So if you go into Finder, what it will do, as I said before, you see the lights off there. Only works on the bottom thing, antenna, so that's where you want a directional antenna. And if I look for F1, you can see it's not going to work very well here because I've got nothing directional on it. But essentially there's no beeps or anything, so you have to have a look at it, and you should just be moving your goggles around with your antenna, and you want the graph to get stronger. Basically as that signal goes up it means you're in the right direction, so you walk towards that direction. Pretty basic stuff for anybody that's used it before. After Find you've got settings. Now this was interesting because I found out something here. You've got diversity, which of course we want, then you've got insane. Insane means it is trying to do something it says in the instructions, and there's we had those little quick start instructions in the box. The full manual's online, and it basically says, well, I'm not entirely sure why they've called it insane mode, but if you turn it off it works exactly like a normal legacy diversity receiver. So yeah, it is trying that. It says do things and process from both antennas at once, so similar to how the RapidFIRE works, also it says. We've got the OSD menu, and these are little basically ticks, so you can tick or untick. That means what we're seeing here is reflected in your goggles itself, which I think is quite useful if you're just wanting to press buttons while you've got your face in there. Then you've got the OSD RSSI. Like a lot of the other modules, this can show the RSSI of the 2 antennas in the goggles and overlay them. It's not quite as obvious as some of the other ones, and it doesn't appear directly in the menu, so you have to kind of play with it. But DGR means digits right side, DGL digits left side, SBR small bars right side, SBL is small bars left side, LBR is large bars right side, and LBL is large bars left side. I would normally have this off, and it actually does say in the manual about when it's doing the processing, it will struggle if you are using anything other than the digits. It actually suggests that you might want to turn it off, but if you're going to use it, only use the digits, else it might struggle. It's got a fast switch option, which seems to be undocumented at the moment. I don't know what that means. Is it about how quickly it switches. Surely it switches fast anyway. And then you've got FSCK channel switch, which is if you turn it off, it means the FatShark buttons don't work anymore for your channel movement. Then you've got FSK favorite switch, which if you turn off, the FatShark buttons don't work when you're on the favorites channel. I don't know why they change it over. Favorite lock, when you've got this locked, it means you can't remove anything from the favorites list. So you'd have to go back in, turn the lock off, and then remove it if you wanted to. And finally you've got low band. If you activate that, you get the low band channels as well. So I guess the most interesting thing from that is the insane mode. Does it make a difference? I mean, that's quite easy for me to test by doing a couple of flights in the house, and we'll see what happens if we got insane on and then what happens if we got insane off. So yeah, anyway, let's get flying this thing and see how it works.
So in my first test, I wanted to see what the insane mode did compared to the normal mode, which I guess is there for camera compatibility. And I've also compared this with the RapidFIRE, which is really the king of the multipathing environment. So for this, I flew around from my house outside, put some walls in between me, and make some static happen. And yeah, you can definitely see that the insane mode beats the not insane mode, but it doesn't really touch the RapidFIRE, which is just above and beyond for this sort of thing. However, if your camera supports it, it's certainly nicer to have the insane mode on, and I didn't find a camera where it didn't work. And I mentioned camera compatibility because the RapidFIRE, as good as it is not perfect. This is the Scorpion 80, which seems to have this peculiar combination of VTX and camera that the RapidFIRE just can't deal with. So this is it in legacy mode, latest firmware, and it looks awful. This, on the meantime, is that same quad. It is a different day, so the lighting conditions are slightly different. Flying on the OWL RC module, and you can see we don't have any issues, and it actually works really nicely. And outside in open environments is really where all the modules tend to be more or less looking the same. So yes, RapidFIRE's got this amazing multipathing thing, but you don't really get it in the middle of a field, even around trees so much, because they're soft. So buildings, areas of metal, going sort of indoors to outdoors, that sort of stuff multipaths. In a field, a decent diversity system will look much the same as the other. Now, I've been flying this for just over a month, and what I always try and do with these modules is basically do as much as possible. I just install it in the goggles, I get on with my normal reviewing, and I try and fly as many types and combinations of cameras and quads and VTXs as I can. So I have flown a fair old few, and I've never had any sort of issue with any compatibility, even with insane mode on. So everything's working nicely, and everything is tending to produce a pretty nice picture. And I'll put on screen some of the quads I've been flying with, and they really vary a lot from the sort of really bad live picture from the iFlight 75 HD with the Turtles V2 to something like the HCLC Batman 220, where I'm doing some sort of tests beyond a kilometre to see how that is, and looking really nice. We had a couple of tests where I moved cameras around, and that's always useful because it's not just a camera, it's not just a VTX, it seems to be a combination of everything that cause issues. But generally speaking, everything came up really nicely, and I had absolutely zero complaints with it. So yeah, it's all quite samey as a field, as you can see there, but the important thing is this thing just works. I don't really have to think about it. I can just plug in and go. And if I need to go in and mess around with the menus, that's not too bad. I can do it while it's on my head, but it's very rare. I just might need to change channels or bands occasionally. Well, just got an RX loss failsafe on a quad. Very odd, just fell out of the sky. That wasn't much fun. So I thought we'd just check the finder mode in this. So I had plenty of opportunity to test the finder mode out, although I didn't manage to film it very well or very often. And the problem with this is if I point the camera at the screen, you can't see the screen. You can just see it sort of refreshing out in this light. But what I can say about it, it works quite well. It turns off the upper antenna and uses the directional. So it's very good in terms of you only have to turn it away a little bit and you can see the signal drop off. So it's very good at finding that. Obviously, it's got no beeps, which I really liked, because what you have to do is look at the screen, sort of stepping in front of it, as if you like. And that's where I really like the rapid-fire one, because that sort of beeps really well to indicate where you are. But I had to do this on a few quads and never had an issue finding them using this finder mode. Obviously, your battery needs to stay in and your VTX needs to be on to use this, but for me, it worked pretty well.
Well, there you go. That is the OWL-RX module from OWL-RC. A couple of little catch-up bits that when I recorded earlier I wasn't aware of. One was the fast switch mode. What is that? Well, I found out that's the ability to change channels without seeing that RSI display. So if you've got fast switch on, you don't get any of the RSI stuff, so it's much faster to display. And that came as a later firmware update. This is firmware updatable, which I neglected to talk about. If you take this out, there's a little USB port in there, and there's an updater piece of software so you can get the latest downloads and install it. I was on the latest firmware, as it turned out, and it also meant that the RSSI bars didn't have that drop in performance, which I talked about earlier. That has been fixed. Although I do notice they tend to flicker a little bit when you get static, but that's probably because they're not locking the signal. The other thing I wanted to check back with OWL-RC, so I did, was about the power mod. Do you need it? Does it run fine without? And they said, yeah, it should run fine on the supplied 3.3 volts that's coming in. Although it did say that on some aging components, if you've got old goggles, it might be the fact you're not getting a very steady 3.3 volt output, and in which case the power mod might help you. It will help you anyway in terms that it's much less power consumption when you have that mod, because it's running at 5 volts instead of 3.3, so it's not drawing as many amps through, even though the voltage is higher. So what I think of these? I quite like these. It's kind of your no frills. I mean, it's not without frills. It's got a good diversity system. It's got an on-screen display, which you see in the goggles and stuff like that. It's got a finder mode, but it doesn't have a big screen. It doesn't have like a roller ball or a directional joystick. So some of the sort of fancy features that RapidFIRE and TrueDX have, like, you know, lap timings and stuff like that, have been taken out. But what you get there works actually very well, and of course it comes in much cheaper. So it kind of depends where you are, really. It's like if you're, and I always say this, if you're flying sort of inside and you're in highly multipathing environments, then RapidFIRE is your best bet at the moment. But if you're not, as you saw outside, you'll get much the same sort of thing. This is a decent diversity system, so is RapidFIRE, so is TrueDX. RapidFIRE and TrueDX have some more bells and whistles. This comes in cheaper, but the image in your goggles at the end of the day outside in a field is going to look much the same. So you can save some money by getting something like this. But hey, it's up to you. You can go check all my reviews out and see what you think. For myself, I'll probably be using the RapidFIRE most of the time because I do a lot of indoor flying, and it's nice to have the best possible pitch you can. Of course, I just know I'm going to hit some cameras which it's not going to like, and I'm going to have to swap out again. Anyway, this has been the OWL-RX module from OWL-RC, and it was kindly supplied by OWL-RC, so thanks very much to them. There'll be links down below telling you where you can get this and where to check it out from. And I hope that review's been helpful for you, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.